A massive and a highly unusual mobilization of the Chinese fishing vessels has been detected in the East China Sea. Nearly 2,000 boats were seen gathering in precise formations not far from Taiwan between December 23rd and December 27 last year, as analyzed by AFP. The vessels remained tightly grouped for more than 30 hours before dispersing. Experts studying the data say such formations have nothing to do with fishing and instead suggested coordinated maneuvers at scale rarely seen outside military exercises. AFP analysis claims that many of these vessels could be part of China's maritime militia, a network of civilian fishing boats trained to assist the military during crisis. These fleets can be mobilized quickly to carry out surveillance, intimidate rival vessels, and support naval operations by using civilian boats. Beijing can exert pressure without formally deploying its navy, creating a powerful hybrid warfare strategy that blurs the line between peace and conflict. The location of these formations is raising serious alarm bells. The vessels were detected near strategic waters that forms the approaches to Taiwan. The Chinese military drill in recent years have repeatedly simulated blockades, especially around the Taiwan island. Analysts say a massive fleet of civilian vessels could be used to choke shipping lanes and isolate Taiwan during a crisis, effectively forming the outer ring of a maritime blockade. While fishing boats may appear harmless, defense experts say thousands of them deployed together could dramatically complicate naval operations. Large fleets could clock critical sea lanes, overwhelm radar systems with hundreds of small targets, or even act as decoys during missile engagements. Experts describe the tactic as creating a floating wall at sea, a dense barrier that makes it extremely difficult for rival navies to respond effectively. The timing of these maneuvers is also drawing attention. With the United States currently focused on escalating tensions in West Asia, particularly involving Iran, analysts say Beijing may be testing Washington's ability to respond on multiple fronts. By increasing pressure around Taiwan while global attention is divided, China could be signaling that it is prepared to reshape the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. The developments in the East China Sea raise critical strategic questions. Is China quietly rehearsing a maritime blockade around Taiwan using civilian vessels? Is Beijing increasingly turning fishing fleets into instruments of hybrid warfare? And with Washington currently dealing with crisis elsewhere, is China testing how far it can push the boundaries in the Indo-Pacific before a major confrontation unfolds? On this issue, I am joined by Dr. Srikant Kontapalli, Professor Center of Chinese Studies and JNU, and Major General Rajan Kochar. Thank you, both of you. I'll straight away go to Dr. Kontapalli. Sir, what do you make of this report? Though a hybrid warfare being conducted by China is not new, but to do this when everyone knows within the Chinese establishment that you would be watched by all the surveillance satellites, what do we make of it?
It appears that China is making a lot of preparations for the invasion scenarios. 2027 is the PLA 100th anniversary. It was born in 1927. So that is one of the landmarks that they wish to realize. However, as you also mentioned, Karthik, there is the Taiwanese own strength in addition to the American assistance because of the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, which suggests, by which the Congress suggests that it will authorize the president to supply arms to Taiwan. And as you know, the Trump administration is thinking of providing $12 billion worth of arms to Taiwan. And this has become a subject matter for the phone call between President Xi Jinping and President Trump recently. So that's number one. Number two, it is also right to say that United States is distracted with the Iran conflict, in which China is also supplying some arms, including air defense systems, wing-loom drones, and possibly hypersonic glide vehicle technologies. In the light of that, it is also clear that the Americans and possibly Japan, because the new Prime Minister Sana Takeuchi mentioned that a PLA invasion is an existential threat to Japan. So it is likely that Japan will join the forces. So the picture that you have shown Karthik, is about the median line between the East China Sea, whereby China intends to block any support from Okinawa, the American base in Japan, and by swamp tactics, they would be able to address some of the ships that may be plying in that region. So that is one interpretation we can draw. Chinese Navy is the largest navy in the world today. They have already surpassed the United States Navy. However, they do not have the combat experience so far. So it is likely that the cumulatively China is trying to exert pressure through these fishing vessels. This may create a headache for the combat troops if there is an invasion scenario in the Taiwan Straits. But most important, Taiwan is very advanced in its armed forces. It has the F-16s, IDFs, indigenous defense fighters, Xiongfang missile systems, and others. And they are, in fact, more powerful than even Iran in the current context of conflict between US and Iran. So Taiwan is no pushover. So for China, if it intends to execute an invasion plan, the cost will be more higher than what you have just mentioned about the cost in the US-Iran conflict in West Asia.
General Kocher, your opening comments of this large exercise, though it's not the first time, if you recall, a very famous film has been made on it, Dunkirk. You know, when Churchill organized a large flotilla of these boats to rescue. But the hybridization of the warfare, whether it's the fishing that the Chinese trawlers do in the South Pacific off the coast of Chile, or the hybridization of the warfare which we witnessed when these vessels combat the naval vessels of Philippines, and I think they brought down one 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago. But again, going back, is this exercise a demonstration of their resolve? Because everyone must have noticed it. This was like a military drill. This was like a parade. It's like having a Republic Day parade, you know. It's an intent. So are we saying that day is near when they would actually launch a military operation?
Okay, thank you, Karthik. See, if you actually follow the Chinese and the PLA strategy, their timing is very important. And we have always seen that whenever such an upheaval in the world is taking place, China is resorting to these kind of tactics. And if you remember, when the Ukraine war was on, a similar kind of exercise was being done by the Chinese, and I remember discussing on your channel only that will China strike Taiwan now, because the US is busy in the campaign in supplying arms to Ukraine. A similar kind of scenarios playing now in this world today. I firmly believe that the PLA leadership is much more smart than Donald Trump. And why I actually say it, because they have a three warfare strategy. And they have been following this three warfare strategy for quite some time. I've been observing this. You wrote a book on China also, Breaking the Chinese Myth, in which I mentioned about it. The three warfare strategy basically tells you that China wants to win a war without firing a bullet. China knows, in terms of a military appreciation, that how difficult it will be to win over Taiwan. Professor Karnapoli has brought out the basics, that how difficult it will be to overcome Taiwan in a military battle, and especially you will have to launch amphibious operations here, and amphibious operations are very, very difficult when the enemy is prepared for you, and when you do not have early warning, or you don't have surprise on your side. And surprise will be lost, because moment you have these kind of your surveillance satellites and all these things available, you can easily make out, because China is not very far off from the waters of Taiwan. So I think basically it is a kind of a measure on to the psychological warfare, which I just mentioned, the three warfare strategy. It is basically to carry out surveillance and reconnaissance of the entire area, store that data, because this kind of data is going to be very useful to the Chinese when they formulate their war plans. The second is uh, uh, try to do this areas in disputed waters. Try to make a legal framework, because the three warfare strategy mentions psychological warfare, legal warfare, and information warfare. So from that legal warfare point of view, also message also goes that this area is not yours, and we have legal right on this area. You have actually seen it in uh, Spratly Islands, the way Chinese have captured that islands in the middle of the South China Sea. Paracel Islands is another one where their missile bases have been deployed. And the third is uh, in the present context of war, it is also a strategic signal to the United States,
Okay.
to countries like Japan also, that we have a sizable force in this area,
Okay.
and we can enforce our strategy in case we want
Okay.
to, at our own point of time and choosing.
Okay. Dr. Srikanth, what is the Chinese thinking in context of a distracted America in various war theaters? A lot of people say that the China will not behave the way Americans do in context of the global crisis. So what's the Chinese state of mind when it comes to the current world, sir?
Well, in the recent white papers, the Chinese have said about opposing Taiwan independence. And they have also mentioned about the three evils: separatism, extremism, and splitism, which are basically domestic related issues. The Taiwan independence, the current government in Taiwan is led by the Democratic Progressive Party, and its candidate won the elections a third time last year. And President Lai Ching-te belongs to the DPP, and the DPP constitution suggests to independence as their goal. However, the DPP, while in power, both in 2000 to 2006, as well as in last three terms, they did not go towards the independence, move towards independence. So China's position on this appears to be more artificial, because Taiwan is not moving towards independence, yet China is raising the bar on Taiwan. And as you have shown on the map, the fishing vessels, since Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan 3 years ago, China conducted military exercises every 9 days out of 10 days.
Yes.
And last month they did not fly, but day before yesterday, they again started flying in that area close to Taiwan Straits. So in other words, China has restarted the campaign on Taiwan. My hunch is that today the Central Military Commission doesn't have a combat officer. General Chang Shengming is not a combat officer, but he is related to anti-corruption institution. So he is the only one who is present in the CMC, apart from President Xi Jinping, who is a civilian.
Okay.
So in other words, the higher command has no combat experience. So this is done by the theater commanders at the Eastern Theater Command and Central Theater Command, focusing on Taiwan and South China Seas. But So they're flying these balloons once in a while in the Taiwan Straits. But this is not a very focused attention in terms of any concrete plans towards invading Taiwan. The other problem is that given the uncertainties of a war, as we have seen in Ukraine,
So,
as well as in Iran, the uncertainties will also bog down China if they invade Taiwan. Taiwan is also highly modern. They control 60% of global hardware.
yes.
So it's quite formidable. So China is up against a great wall. We have to see whether it is serious or not.
Okay, a closing comment from General Kocher. It's also because of the fact that it's when you claim it as one country, you also claim the people. So the same form of brutality of the war cannot be conducted in Taiwan, because that would be a Pyrrhic victory ultimately. So that also makes it different from the Iranian theatre.
No, absolutely right. And I tend to agree with the assessment of Professor Kodapalli, because basically, from a military point of view, if I assess it, it is basically these are very important maneuvers, as we actually call the Third Navy of China. And especially what we are, I'll just make a comparison to Strait of Hormuz, also the way these small fishing boats are used there also. It is basically for mine laying, logistic transport, surveillance, blockade operations, and amphibious support. So this kind of augmentation of the strength of the PLA Navy will happen in tandem with these fishing boats, and they are in swarms. And why they are in swarms, we have to understand. Something like the swarm drone attacks,
Okay.
where you can't actually hit every target, and some of these will go through. So that is the kind of a strategy which the Chinese are testing it here. They are, preparing themselves for this kind of eventuality, that in case they have to go to war, they must be ready.
Actually, that's a food for thought. Americans invested in bigger is better, but the USS Abraham Lincoln is not now in the Bay of Oman. It's in the Arabian Sea. It has retreated. So it's the smaller and the swarm theory that that is the I would say strategy of the day.